Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Today's the 6th of December. It's Friday. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. I've been up since almost 6 o'clock, before 6, and I've been going through the news and social media where I get information, and there was not any great developments going on in Syria that would be unexpected. But we'll get into those. They're making excellent progress. The rebels are, and let me do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Let's talk about Syria. There's actually about 10 groups of what they're calling rebels operating in Syria. They got all different kinds of names that me and most of you would probably not even have heard before. I still cannot get any reliable information as to how many total rebels there are in Syria. I don't know. I can't get any relevant or any information that looks intelligent. So it could be that the Americans and the Israelis, nobody knows. I'm rather certain Israel and America have estimates, but they don't seem to be releasing those. I don't know why. I don't know. So let's not speculate. So Aleppo's history, although Bashar Assad's people are saying they still have little pieces of Aleppo, they hit Hama, and in one day they had Hama. That's a rather important city as well, not as big as Aleppo, but important. A lot of desertions with leaving equipment behind of Bashar Assad's troops, which I'm learning a lot of them are conscripts, in other words, draftees, and they don't really give a hoot about Bashar Assad. They're not about to go out and get themselves, shot up over him, especially when he's not in the country. He has not appeared publicly anywhere in Syria. It's rather certain he's not in the country. Russia continues to bomb the rebels, indiscriminately hitting residential structures and killing civilians. Nobody cares. It's just when the Jews do it, they care. Putin, and it's okay. Let's see what else we got. The next location that the rebels are going to hit is supposed to be Homs, H-O-M-S. H-A-M-A is Hama, is the city they're working on now to solidify their control. Now, every time they take a city over, they have to leave a pretty good piece of their troops in the city to maintain, you understand? They can't just take the city and fly their flag and leave 200 guys there and move on, So, as they keep taking cities, if they don't get more soldiers, they're going to run out of soldiers. But I think they're far from it right now, I think. So, Homs is right up there in northern Syria near Lebanon. And that's the area that weapons were smuggled in. So they went from Iran to Iraq to Syria, through Syria, and then into Lebanon. Hezbollah in Syria would take care of that. Hezbollah in Syria right now is scared bad. And they've been trying to come back and cross into Lebanon, and Israel's been blowing up the highways and bombing the routes. So if they do get in, they're not going to get in with, trucks or weapons or anything like that. So Hezbollah is up in that area getting ready to go back into Lebanon, but I have a very strong feeling that Israel's not going to be very enthusiastic about that. Now, if they go off the main roads and creep through the woods or the fields, they're probably going to get in onesies and twosies and things like that, but maybe not. But that's what's going on. So when they take Homs, the rebels, it's going to be a big plus for Israel because they're going to control that area. We don't have to. So are they working with us? Slicking, maybe they are, Well, we're helping them for sure, as is America. So I don't know what day they'll take Homs, probably next week. But maybe sooner, I don't know. It's not a big city. It's busted up by the border with Lebanon. The bridge was blown up, the highways are blown up, probably a lot of people evacuated. It's it's going to be one of these that looks like the ends of the earth kind of thing, So that's not going to be bad for Israel whatsoever. It'll be good for Israel if they go into, the rebels go take Homs. There's no chance that not in my mind, that these rebels are going to turn against Israel at this point. Now, when would they turn against Israel? Well, it would be down the road. They would have to solidify everything, and then they would have to take care of Iraq because they got a constant threat with Iraq. And, then after they're finished with Iraq, they're going to try to get Iran. So they might take another city after Homs, or that might be it. And that keeps, if they do it quick and right, Hezbollah's trapped in Lebanon, and these rebels hate what Hezbollah did to them and their people. They were running them over with cars. Well, rebels. I think it was Hezbollah. They're vicious. Drive over them with cars, shoot them on the ground. They're savages. More and more of the Syrian military have defected to them. They hate Assad. Assad was a horrible. His father was horrible. Okay? The guy that runs Jordan is not much different. And the dictators in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, they're just the same way. Maybe they got slight differences, but not much. They're brutal pig dictators, and America makes allies out of them, because it's real profitable for the oil companies. So the whole Middle East is really not changing. It has already changed, past tense. It has already happened. Iran is sitting there playing the I hope game. I hope somebody comes and helps me. I hope I get out of this. I hope we don't get attacked. And it ain't going to happen. They're going down. According to Bible prophecy, Jeremiah 49, Elam. Okay? Syria has its own prophecies. So Damascus shall be a ruinous heap. Is that on the way? I can only give you my opinion. It seems that after Homs, they're going to go for Damascus, which might be the week after this coming week or something. It could be that soon. Now, what I think we're going to see in Damascus is different than what we saw in Aleppo and Hama, and probably different than what we're going to see in Homs. Assad probably has enough brains to have assembled his real soldiers that are serious soldiers, special forces, artillery, specialty guys that are more or less career soldiers, not somebody that's just knocking off 2 years in the military to get Assad out of his face. So, Damascus will be a fight. Okay, they're not going to roll into Damascus in a day or two and have it. That's going to be a knockdown fight. Okay, and how could it possibly maybe become a ruinous heap out of this fight? Well, for one thing, they'll probably take certain parts of the city, and then Russia. Now, what Russia's running around doing is they have a small amount of aircraft there. I don't know. I would say maximum 12, maybe 6. Nothing with nothing. Their port is still abandoned. All the Russian warships have left the port. Okay. What the scuttlebutt is on this port in Latakia is it's a refueling, refitting, repair station. Okay? So the ships pull in from the Mediterranean and they dock up in Latakia, and the soldiers get off and they can probably get medical, get new uniforms, eat good meals in a barracks dining room. Play basketball or soccer or whatever they do, and get on the internet and phone calls to home, and hang out for a while, and then meanwhile the ship is worked on by the technical crew that's based in Latakia, and they when a ship's out at sea for even a month, it's going to need repairs. It's probably a Russian ship even more so. So they'll do the necessary repairs. They'll work on the motors, whatever that needs. They might need work on their air conditioning system, their showers, their toilets, their refrigerator. Who knows? They'll take care of all the repairs, which is usually going to run, if it's just routine, maybe a week or two. If it's combat repair, it could be 4 or 6 weeks. So they need to get the crew off the boat because these guys need to do a lot of welding and blow torches and grinders and saws, and they don't want the sailors on the boat, so they keep them on the ground. And the sailors like that. It gives them a rest period. And they refuel the boat. Now that could be, it might happen in 3 to 5 days, or even less. If it's, if they're just coming in and there's a war going on, they're only going to do the critical repairs, the real serious repairs, and they're going to work on it 24/7. Okay, and they're going to while that's going on, they're going to get the food ready, the uniforms ready, the medical ready, the weapons they got to replenish ready, and everything else, and the ship could be rolling back out at sea in, 3 days, 5, 7 days, it'd be fast. It wouldn't be a long time, right? So basically Assad has lost that option. So he doesn't have a place to do repairs on Russian warships that have problems in the Mediterranean, be they routine servicing, ordinary expected breakdowns of equipment, or very importantly, damage from war, getting hit by missiles, strafed by a plane, a torpedo maybe, and that's the kind of thing where they gotta go and they might have to stay there 2, 3, 4 weeks. He doesn't have that in the Mediterranean. So if his ships get busted up in the Mediterranean, and they might not be capable of going long distances, they might only have one of their engines working, they might not be able to steer correctly, or who knows, they might have had fire damage, and they're not going to be able to conveniently pull into Latakia to get medical and repairs and replenish, restock, refuel, you know. So it's a serious, serious deficiency for Putin, especially if he's going to war with NATO, which is a lot of countries on the Mediterranean, you know, a lot of them. So Putin has a very serious strategic loss, and NATO is very happy. But it's not finished yet. Nobody destroyed the Latakia base. But why would the rebels destroy the Latakia base? Well, one reason is they have no navy. So what do they need it for? Along that line of thought, if they destroy it, Putin's not going to try to retake it. I mean, Putin could come and drop 10,000 paratroopers there, parachute tanks down and stuff like that, and, you know, deploy, you know, 15 or 20 bombers and fighter jets to attack the base and take it back. But if it's already destroyed, why do you need to attack the base? See the logic in this? Now, the Americans and the Israelis may change their opinion of that. This I don't know. They haven't made a strong effort to take Latakia base because why? The Russians are gone. Now, when I say the Russians are gone, maybe the Russians left, you know, 25 or so guys there to protect it from thieves or something like that, but those guys will be dead if the rebels decide to move in on them. I don't know. Putin was not worried about leaving, you know, a small amount of troops behind to, you know, just keep, you know, onesie and twosie thieves out of there. You know, I imagine he might have done something like that. But he was worried about those warships, and they were all evacuated. And Putin closed bases, and he took soldiers out of there. Now, he probably had, now the rebels have already taken maybe as much as 6 airfields or air bases, including one big civilian airport at Aleppo. They've already taken a lot of air bases, but Syria probably had quite a few. So Putin probably has an air base somewhere in Syria that he's working out of, and he probably has a reasonable amount of soldiers, which could be Syrian or his own or both, or maybe IRGC with them too, I don't know, set up there to defend the base. They would normally put tanks there. They wouldn't be too concerned about ground-to-air missiles because the rebels have no aircraft. There was a video I put up on my Telegram yesterday that showed you the rebels were sitting there on YouTube. They captured helicopters and from Assad, and they were sitting there on YouTube watching videos about how to fly a helicopter. I'm serious. This is rather frightening. They may try, like we heard in the past, some of these rebel forces in other countries got their hands on airplanes from the country they invaded, and they tried flying them, and they were able to get up in the sky, but they couldn't land. So they're like the kamikaze pilots in World War II. You take off and you never come back. Now with these martyr characters, they might go for that. I don't even know. I don't know. Probably they tried to land. What they're going to have to do is, I mean, learning how to be a military pilot involves classroom work, understanding the physics, the lift in the wings, combustion in engines, differences flying at different altitudes, all kinds of things. And that's usually months. Then they start taking them up in trainers. sometimes I believe they'll start with propeller planes, and then they'll go into very simplex, immature jets where they sit in the front and the instructor sits in the back, and the instructor can grab the controls and override him and save the day if the guy's gonna crash it, you know. Well, not crash it, go into a spin or a stall or something. And then they advance into the more serious jets. And then along the way, they got to learn how to shoot the guns, because most of these jets have machine guns. They call them cannons. And then they have to learn how to shoot the missiles, and learn how to drop the different bombs, and learn about the counter systems to take out incoming missiles and how to fight it. You know, it's going to take like a year. So they're going to try to condense it into a week. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have a real bad experience with trying to fly helicopters and planes off of YouTube videos, you know. Let's take a look at the chat real quick. Have a real bad experience with trying to. All the nasty remarks get blocked. That's how you get rid of it. All right, I threw the garbage out. So I think we're headed towards the Damascus buildup. Now, the rebels told the government of Iraq they better not enter the war in Syria. They were threatening it. And I am 99% sure the Iraqi government's going to ignore the threat. They're not going to say, oh, they threatened us, we can't go in. They're going to go in. And Iran is still trying to figure out what they're going to do, but it looks like they're going to try to find a way to help the Syria, but they tried the convoys, it didn't work. And I don't know, they're not going to try new military convoys because America, Israel, and maybe Turkey will blow them up. So I don't know what they're going to do. The Kurds had combat with the Turkish-backed rebels, I think yesterday and the day before. They're fighting over who gets to conquer what area of Syria. So that's a problem for Turkey. Turkey has a meeting with Russia and maybe Iran, but definitely Lavrov. And they're going to try to get Turkey to do something with them, but I'm not thinking Turkey's going to play ball with Russia. Turkey has an axe to grind with the Kurds for years, and they're very afraid of them, and they want that buffer zone in Syria, so I'm sure Russia was promising it, but I don't think he believes in Russia. Russia's basically a dead man walking. And I know a lot of people think Russia's so big and tough, but where is all their big and tough? Ukraine's not a big, powerful country, and they're choking on that one. So I don't see Putin bringing troops to Syria, and he'll keep the bombing runs going as long as he's able, and that's about it. I don't see him bringing warships around or anything. So it's going to boil down to what's Iraq and Iran going to do, and possibly Edom, called Yemen today. I don't know what they're going to do either. They may try to help them or something like that. I don't know. It looks like this is going to go to something on the level of what the media likes to call World War III. There is no World War III in the Bible. It looks like it's going to break out over this right now, combined with Ukraine and Russia. The Asia Pacific, China and North Korea and Taiwan and Japan and South Korea, seems to be rather sedate right now. I don't see it blowing up right now. That could change. China and North Korea could be waiting for NATO to get engaged in a big war with Russia and possibly the Middle East, and then they'll have enough guts to proceed with attacking Taiwan and South Korea. That remains to be seen. They know if they do it, Iran ain't going to come and help them, and Russia's not going to come and help them. So they're on their own. Do they want to take that kind of a chance? Well, we got to watch. We've got to watch that one. There's not much going on with Netanyahu here. It's still staying where it was. The rebel forces this is real interesting, in Syria have a name that, you translate it into English, it comes up with something like committee, or maybe it's a coalition or something, for the liberation of the Levant. The Levant is the caliphate. So in other words, they're going to work for the Ottoman Empire. They want to rebuild the caliphate. So yeah, that includes Israel. The media doesn't tell you that they have this name, the Levant, in there because they don't want you to know that. America would try to let them build the Levant as long as they can control them and dictate to them. America doesn't care. As long as they stay in power. The Israeli government had a Security Council meeting yesterday, and they said that at all costs they have to make sure Iran does not take over Syria, because it'll just be another Gaza on our eastern border, and they're not going to let that happen. So that means they'll attack Iranian forces trying to come in. Turkey apparently figures he's no longer friends with Russia. Why? Russia's weak. And he never really got buddy-buddy with Iran. The IDF is telling us now, and the IDF tells you this stuff, it's generally true. I mean, I assume it's true. They don't come out with blatant lies. When they don't want you to know something, they just leave it out and don't talk about it. When they tell you something with specificity, I accept it as the truth. 80% of the Hezbollah medium and long-range missiles are destroyed. Hezbollah doesn't have them. 80% now. So they still have 20% of what they had. And that's dangerous, but it's far better than what it was. Okay, I got a prayer request for Nancy Harry, NH, Nancy Harry, NH, healing and no need for surgery. So for NH, Nancy Harry, healing with no need for surgery for NH. Okay, got that covered. I believe that was my only prayer request today. I don't see anything else here. Let me double check. As it progresses, the 80% figure is probably going to go down to, you know, the 80% gone will be 90%, then 95, and that's probably about where it'll hover, I guess. All right, we're going to start out with the Bible stuff now. We're going to do the Prodigal Son. And there's a key to understanding the prodigal son parable. Malachi 3:17. We'll start with that, and then I'll open up the prodigal son for you. Malachi 3:17. And they shall be mine, saith Jehovah of armies, in that day, that's Zechariah 12:10 day of vengeance, beginning of redemption, end of recompenses, when I make up my jewels and will spare them as a man spareth his only son that serveth him. Okay, spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Then shall they return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. Okay, now we'll go to the prodigal son, which is, it's in Luke. Let me look. I forgot the actual verse. It's Luke 15, verse 11. It starts. Luke 15, verse 11. And he saith, a certain man had two sons. Now you have to start thinking Israel and Judah. Israel's the 10 tribes, Judah's the 2 tribes. Solomon was the last king of Israel that had all the 12 tribes. After Solomon, the 10 left. And they became what is not in the Bible, but we refer to it, you know, the street talk, so to speak, is the lost tribes. And Judah, which is predominantly Judah and their Levites, so it's Judah and Levi, and there's a little Benjamin mixed in, are really what's in Israel now. Okay. And the younger of them saith to his father. Okay, why is it saying the younger? The younger, I believe, is Israel. You see, Israel, the 10 tribes, was divorced from the Lord. Judah was not. Yeshua derived from Judah, the Lion of Judah. His father, you know, he comes from the line of David, which is in Judah. Okay? So Israel appears to be the younger because they split off and started their own thing, I guess. And the younger of them said they left the land and scattered in the world, when they got divorced. And the younger of them said to his father, the father would be Jehovah, so to speak, right? A representation there. Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me, and he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. Well, that's what the 10 lost tribes did. They left Israel, they went into different nations, and they got sucked in, worshiping sticks and stones and so forth. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him, the citizen, sent him into the fields to feed the swine. Now that's representative of, the nations, right? And he would fain have filled his belly with the husks that the swine did eat. I believe when you pursue the word study, it comes up as carob. So the pigs were probably very happy eating that, and probably had a lot of carbs and everything. With the husks that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. So he wasn't allowed to eat the husks. If he got caught eating the husks, the pig food, they probably would have, gone and maybe just fired him, maybe whooped him, or who knows what happened. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? So he's saying, what did I do? I went out in the nations, and now I'm starving. I need to go back to my father. That's the next great exodus, which is going to include Judah also, because they've forgot their resting place. I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. This is the mourning in Zechariah 12, after they look upon the one whom they have pierced. They go into mourning, all the families of Israel, all of them, because they feel miserable. Their ancestors killed the Messiah, they've been rejecting him, and oh my gosh. So they feel miserable, so they go into mourning. But, you read that, God takes away their garments of mourning and gives them nice garments and raises them up and so forth. And am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. So they're coming back to the land, and they're saying, oh, we're so nasty and bad, let us just serve you in the land or something, so we got what to eat and all that. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, they're going to come from America, Canada, England, Ireland, France, Spain, all over the place. When he was a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion. I am returned to Jerusalem with mercy. I had compassion. He has compassion. And ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Okay. And the son said unto, now those of you that are real believers, not just punching your ticket at church, you're going to be coming in the next great Exodus too. And the son said unto him, because you're in Israel, but the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. So what would that play like? We're not worthy to be called your son. We chased the Talmud. We rejected your word. We rejected your Messiah, all this stuff, right? But the father said to his servants, bring forth you could think of this as the angels, but this is not really the case, but it is. I'll explain. Bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his finger, and feet and shoes on his feet. That might be for sandals, but it could be shoes. Okay. So when you're leaving the countries, they're going to be giving you wealth, just like what happened in Egypt. And when you get to Israel, the nations are going to be coming with great wealth, giving it to us as an offering unto the Lord. So you're all going to be rich. I mean, really rich, capital letter rich. Okay, that's in the scriptures. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead. Israel, the 10 tribes divorced, and is alive. They received the everlasting life when they see Yeshua. He is alive again. He was lost, so that could be where the lost tribe's coming from, but they don't teach it the way I do in the churches. But maybe one day in the past, centuries ago, they did. And is found, and they began to be merry. Now his older son was in the field, this would be Judah, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him. And he was angry and would not go in. Now, that to me represents the way the Israelites that were born here, lived here a long time, treat the people that come in as newcomers, as adults. They're very resentful to them. Extremely so. That's why 2/3 get cut off, one of the reasons. But let's keep reading. Therefore came his father out and entreated him, and he answering said, now they're going to say when the 10 tribes come back, oh, they were out there worshiping, they became Buddhists and Hindus and atheists and all this stuff, and worshiping unclean spirits, and now they're coming back, and we've been here trying to follow the law all the time. And and living in Israel with all the roughness and hardness. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment. Well, they're going to say, well, we followed your commandments. They didn't, but they followed, in their minds. I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son has come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, and has killed for him the fatted calf. See, this son doesn't understand, and the father knows it. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. See, this is what the Israelites here that are mean to the newcomers are missing. That Jehovah wants all his Israelite people in Israel, not just them, and they reject us, pick on us and everything else, and not fair to us. Very nasty. Many of them. So this is a problem for them. They're either gonna, shape up or suffer the wrath. Okay? So that would be my take on the prodigal son. Okay? And you got to remember that Yeshua said all that the Father has is his, and then he does the same thing with his brethren, the believers. All that he has is ours. So the Father does. When you make it into heaven, then everything he has is yours. That's the Son of God, Son of Jehovah, his jewels. And that's why the testing to get into heaven is rather gruel, rather harsh. No, I wouldn't use the word gruel. It's not easy. It's hard. That's why you get a crown when you make it. I mean, you're just, it's, a soldier gets into a bad combat thing for what? A couple hours a day, 3 days. You're in a bad combat thing for decades. Okay? Got it? All right, let me go garbage hunting in the chat for a minute. Oh, apparently they just come in the beginning. And then they're gone. Okay, now we'll go into, we'll go into Revelation 8. Now I'm going to do here is I'm going to kick against the idiot narratives of the beast and the 200 million man army that the church propagates, which is, you're going to see, is just blatant, obviously lies. The church is basically writing a Marvel comic book, calling it prophecy. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. Now, the churches are always, hacking around. Oh, there's no need for another temple. Well, there's a temple up in heaven, isn't there? How do they deal with that? They don't. They can't. Satan doesn't know the scriptures. It says in your own Bible, if he understood the scriptures, he never would have had Yeshua killed. Don't listen to these idiots. Oh, Satan and the demons really know the Bible. They don't. Even if they listen to good Bible teachers over many centuries, they can't get it. It doesn't matter. Haven't you gone and explained scriptures to people many times that are in the church and stuff, and they just shrug it off? They don't pay attention. That's because they take on the ways of their father, Satan. There was given unto him much incense he should offer with the prayers of all saints. That's not an earthly altar. Upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. The altar on earth is brazen, not gold. The menorah would be gold. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Now, we don't understand this. We read it, we know what it says, but we don't get the ins and outs and the workings of this. And the seven angels, which had the seven trumpets, prepared themselves to sound. This is spiritual stuff on a very deep level taking place in heaven, and we don't know much about heaven. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. Now that's not happening around Zechariah 12. This is down the road towards the end of the second 70 in Daniel 9:24. Daniel 9:24 in every Hebrew manuscript going back to 900 AD says 70. It's two 70-year periods. There's not one Hebrew manuscript that says 70 weeks. That's just a lie. They know it doesn't mean weeks. They're lying to you. And they were cast upon the earth. And the third part, okay, let me get back. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees was burned up, and all green grass was burnt up. That's pretty major. And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. A great mountain, and that could be America. Burning with fire, because God says he'll make the daughter of Babylon, America, a burnt mountain. That could be it. And the third part of the sea became blood. It may not be it, though, but it could be it. Let's keep reading. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. And the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and that means 2/3 of the ships are not destroyed. Ships of Tarsus. And the third angel sounded. Now that could be the warships that get it. I don't know. Okay. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. The great star from heaven may very well not be an angel. It very well could be a physical planet star thing, right? And it could be toxic. That's what I get here. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night. I think this is off in the future as we're going towards Gog and Magog and Ezekiel 8-11 and the great day of the Lord. I don't think it has much relevance to us right now in these days that we're in right now. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe for the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices. Let me check that word for earth. Yeah, it means earth. By reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. Okay, so now we'll advance to Revelation 9. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given, you see, now it's not a piece of planet, it's a person, an angel, I expect. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Now, Satan was already on earth in Pergamos back in Revelation 2. Okay, so it ain't Satan. And I saw fall from heaven. Let's check that word fall. Let's see what Strong's does with that word. No, I guess basically fall or come down. But I think it's probably, I don't know if he was cast down. I don't know if it's, gotta watch this with the word. Let's go back and see if we can dig deeper into this word. Well, it could be fall. Fall from heaven, it could be he jumped down from heaven into the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. I don't think he was cast out of heaven because he was a bad one. Okay, I'm not getting that at all. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke. And he opened the bottomless pit. There arose a smoke out of the pit. Now, this is where we're going to start to very decisively crush the teachings of the churches. Came out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Now, did that happen when Trump was born, or Putin was born, or Biden was born, or whatever the heck, Prince Charles, whatever they're trying to teach us, the Antichrist or the beast? It's the beast, not the Antichrist. Back in the writings of the New Testament, they said even today there are many Antichrists among us. Antichrist means opposed to Christ. That's all it means. The beast is the beast. This is the beast. Okay. The smoke comes out of the pit, and the smoke like a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. This is not the moon turning to blood and the sun going dark, or the moon and the sun going dark and a third of the stars falling. No, this is something different. And there came out of the smoke locusts. Let's check the word locusts. It's locust. Okay. Came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. So the smoke is carrying locusts. We haven't seen the smoke. We haven't seen these locusts either. Let's read. And unto them was given power as the scorpion, or of the earth, have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, nor neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Now, where do we see this? I'll show you the seal of God in the foreheads. The church never teaches you this because they're trying to conceal information from you. All the churches. You go to Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 1. I'm not going to read the whole thing, I'll just pick it up. In verse 3, and he put forth the form of a hand and took me by a lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in visions, so this is a vision, in visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh towards the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh the jealousy. This is the next temple that hasn't appeared yet, Ezekiel's temple it's referred to. It has an inner court and an outer court connected on the north side by a passage or a gate. Herod's temple did not have this. Zerubbabel's temple didn't even have any courts. And Solomon's temple did not have this. This is the next temple, number 4. Solomon uno. Zerubbabel dos. Herod's temple tres. There's been 3. Akkad shalosh in Hebrew. There's been 3. Eins, zwei, drei, I think is the Yiddish, but we don't need to worry about Yiddish. Okay, so un, deux, trois, in France. What do you want me to tell you? There's been 3. The idiot churches tell you the next temple's the third temple. Why do they do that? Because they loveth to maketh a lie. They love lying. Yes, I'm very harsh on them because they're very harsh on you and you don't know it. There's been 3 temples in the Bible. Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple, and Herod's temple. Yeshua referred to Herod's temple as a temple. My Father's house shall be a house of prayer. You're turning it you're making merchandise out of it, And then he hit him with a rope and ran him out of the courtyard or something, okay? The money changes. So there you go, all right? First big lie. And brought me in visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh towards the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy. That's your abomination of desolation. The desolation, it makes the temple empty. The glory of God of Israel leaves, okay? That's foreign to the church. Who the heck's the glory of God? What do you mean? Well, we're the temple of God. You're not. You're the temple of the Holy Spirit. It says so in the scriptures. This is going to cause them to call the 2 witnesses and the glory of God. They'll probably go, the glory of God of Israel is Satan, and the 2 witnesses are the beast and the false prophet. Watch for it. See if it happens. I hope it doesn't. Towards the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. Satan will tell them that's what it is. And the big teachers of the church will say it. They'll be in a lot of hot water with the 2 witnesses and Jehovah, but they're blind as a bat. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there. See, the glory of God of Israel is there. They don't even know who that is. It's Michael, the angel that was with Moses and Aaron, the children in the wilderness. God put his name, Jehovah, in Michael. It's in Exodus 23, verse 20. They don't know that. They don't even care. Oh, we're going to get raptured and we're going to come down and reign over Israel with a rod of iron. And that's not replacement theology, is it? Of course it is. It's demonic. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man. You see, the glory of God of Israel belongs to Israel. It's in Romans 6, I think. It pertains to Israel. So they're not going to teach that because they're trying to teach superiority of the church. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up thy eyes now the way towards the north. So I lifted up my eyes the way towards the north. And behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy. The altar was inside the inner courtyard, surrounded by the first gate, the first courtyard. And on the north side, that's where the gate was. This image of jealousy in the entry, it's not in the holiest of holies, it's in the connecting gate between the inner and outer courtyards. He said aftermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here. The house of Israel is not here yet. All we got here now is Judah, which is Judah and Levi and a little Benjamin. That I should go far off from my sanctuary, and that's to get the glory of God of Israel to leave the temple. That's the desolation. But turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. Now this is what I want to focus on. And he brought me to the door of the court. When I looked, behold, a hole in the wall, and then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now. I'm just going to skip ahead. And he digged in. And I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel portrayed upon the wall round about. In the temple, they're putting their idols on the wall of the temple. They wanted to get the glory of God of Israel to leave the temple, so then the attack would come against Israel. That's what Satan wants. But God has a different plan this time. In Jeremiah 31, he says he's not going to punish the children for the sins of the fathers. Every man's going to suffer for his own sins only. So this happens after Jeremiah 31. So what you'll see here is the ones that are mad, angry, and upset over these sins the people are doing in Jerusalem with the temple and so forth. Nothing bad happens to them this time, just the bad ones. So it blows up in Satan's face. Because, there were some relatively good people that when God said, go to Babylon, you'll be safe, they went. The rest of them stayed in Jerusalem and got killed. Okay, let's go on. And there stood before them 70 men. Those are the 70 counselors, I guess, that gone bad. Of the ancients, the elders of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Jezaniah, son of Shaphan, with every man his cleansing. Now, we don't know who this guy is. He just appears here. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chamber of his imagery, for they say, Jehovah seeth not, Jehovah hath forsaken the earth. So, Jehovah's forsaken the earth, they're thinking again, hey, we can go run things again. He said also unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. And he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was towards the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. He's the sun god. that the churches worship on Sunday is Tammuz. And Tammuz's birthday is, drumroll, December 25th. And Tammuz's mother is Easter, Esther. Churchianity. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs towards the temple. They're turning their back on the Lord, the temple of the Lord, and their faces towards the east, and they worshiped the sun towards the east. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. Lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I also deal in fury. My eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in my ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. Now I'm in chapter 9 of Ezekiel. See, Ezekiel is describing Gog and Magog, which is also Zechariah 14. He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draweth near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which lieth towards the north. They came from the same place the image of jealousy, or the abomination of desolation, is, way of the north, which lieth towards the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a writer's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. It's not a gold altar, it's a brass altar. And the glory of the God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, whereupon he was to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. And the Lord said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, Jerusalem being the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in my hearing, Go you after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, and both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark. And begin at my sanctuaries. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said unto them, Defile the house and the courts with the slain, go you forth. And they went forth and slew. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, and I was left, that I fell upon my face and cried and said, Our Lord God, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel in thy pouring of thy fury. Then said he unto me, the lawlessness of the house of Israel and Judah. So that all the tribes are back here. So didn't really happen yet. It's exceeding didn't great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, Jehovah hath forsaken the earth, and Jehovah seeth not. The glory of God of Israel never was in Zerubbabel's temple, never was in Herod's temple. Briefly went into Solomon's temple to anoint it and left. In this next temple, which is made without human hands, it comes down from heaven. Read Ezekiel 37, the last 3 verses. The glory of God of Israel resides there. So let's move ahead. We'll go through 10. And this is basically going to show us the glory of God of Israel leaving the temple. And he has his throne, and this is let's say Ezekiel 10:20. This is the living creature that I saw under the God of Israel. That's Michael, the glory of God of Israel. Kabod Jehovah Yisrael, or Elohim Yisrael, you could say. By the river Kabar, and I knew that they were cherubims. Every one had 4 faces apiece, and every one 4 wings, and the likeness of the hands of a man was under their wings, and the likeness of the faces was the same faces which I saw by the river Kabar, their appearances and themselves. They went every one straight forward. Okay, so he's describing, the whole throne environment that the glory of God of Israel has in this next temple. And now we go to Ezekiel 11:1. Moreover, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me unto the east gate of the Lord's house, which looketh towards eastward, that would be towards the Mount of Olives. And behold, at the door of the gate 25 men, among whom I saw Jezaniah. Oh, he's back again. Okay. I'm looking for the scriptures. Therefore say, thus saith Jehovah, Adonai Jehovah. I'm in verse 16 of Ezekiel 11. Although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. That's talking about the dispersion through the past. Therefore say, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, I will even gather you from the people and assemble you out of the countries where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel. And they shall come thither, and they shall take away all the detestable things thereof, and all the abominations thereof from thence. And I will give them one heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of their flesh, and give them a heart of flesh, that I may walk in my statutes. Those are the statutes the churches teach are dead and done away with. That they may walk in my statutes and keep my ordinances and do them. And they shall be my people, and I will be their God. But as for them, whose heart walketh after the heart of their detestable things and their abominations, I will recompense their way upon their own heads, saith Jehovah. Then did the cherubims lift up their wings, and the wheels beside them, and the glory of the God of Israel, Kabod Elohim Yisrael, was over them above. And the glory of the Lord went up from the midst of the city, and stood upon the mountain which was the east side of the city. That's the Mount of Olives. Now, let's go to Zechariah 14 and show you all the stuff the church doesn't want you to know. Zechariah 14:1. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh. That's your Gog and Magog, the day of the Lord. And thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations, all Goyim, heathen nations, against Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken. That doesn't happen in Zechariah 12, does it? And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, looted, and the women raped, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Why is the residue not cut off from the city? Because God put his mark in their forehead, which is likely his name. Put his mark in their forehead, and no evil will happen to them. So they stay there. You get it? Could you imagine if the church people knew this is really what their Bibles say? How quick they'd run out of the church? Then shall Jehovah go forth and fight against those nations, heathen nations, as when he fought against the day of battle. That's Jehovah. That's not Yeshua. When did you ever read in the Bible Yeshua fought a day of battle? They didn't. This is the glory of God of Israel, who has the name Jehovah in him. So he's referred to as Jehovah. God put his name in. You can call him Jehovah. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives. There he is. He left the city. He's standing on the Mount of Olives. Not Yeshua, the glory of God of Israel, that they don't want you to know exists, which is before Jerusalem on the east. So the eastern gate would face it. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof, towards the east and towards the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove towards the north, and half of it towards the south. And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach upon Azalel, and he gets describing it. And you shall flee like as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And Jehovah Elohim shall come, and all the holy ones with thee. That's because when Gog and Magog is over, basically, I think the tribulation is over. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to Jehovah, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening it shall be light, and it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them towards the former sea, half of them towards the hinder sea, in summer and in winter, and Jehovah shall be king over all the earth. Okay. So it ain't Yeshua stepping on the Mount of Olives. Now let's go back to where was I working on? Some verse 4. Revelation, I believe. I think I was in 9 or something. I'll find it. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass or the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead. Now you understand this. Church doesn't want you to understand it by purpose, intent, and design, courtesy of Satan. The churches began with Constantine about 350 years or so after they killed Yeshua. And they never spread the gospel, ever. They spread another gospel, a fake gospel. And to them, it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should torment, but they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. That really hurts. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall escape from them. So I don't know what happens if they throw themselves off a roof and they get all busted up. They're still alive, I guess. And the shapes of what happens if you cut their head off and they can't die? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, a good question. I don't know. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. Like, they're not are. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold. And their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair like the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. So they eat the crops and stuff. And they had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron. And if you were a kid, did you ever look at a fly with a magnifying glass? It's got all this green and colors and reflections and stuff. It's that kind of thing. Probably much bigger than a fly. And they had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron. It looks like that. And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there was stings, or we would say stingers in their tails. And their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had, but not if you have the mark. And they had a king, and all the believers should be living in Israel, or almost all of them at that time. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. whose name is in the Hebrew tongue Abaddon in the Greek, and hath his name Apollon. So this is the beast. This is their king, and he comes from the bottomless pit. Weren't all these likely candidates like Adolf Hitler and Eichmann and Mussolini and Putin and Trump and Obama? Didn't they come from man and woman? Of course they did. They didn't come out of the pit. This beast character is no more a normal person than Satan or the demons are. They're not normal people. He's the angel of the bottomless pit. In Revelation 9:11, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name is in the Hebrew tongue Abaddon and in the Greek tongue Apollon. One woe is past, behold, there come two woes more hereafter. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God. This would be the heavenly altar, saying to the sixth angel, which had, or the altar in heaven, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year. Nice period of time. So you got a year, 12 months, then another month, 13 months, and 1 day and an hour. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. These are the scorpion locust things with the stinger like a scorpion. This is not the Chinese army, for crying out loud. These church jackasses teach that to you. They're laughing at you behind your back. And thus I saw horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horsemen were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Yeah, Chinese soldiers, right? By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth, and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. See, these people are just believing in Satan and the demons that they're going to win. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud and a rainbow upon his head. That's God's bow. And his face, as it were, the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. Now, it says an angel, that's Strong's number 32, angelos. Now, it could also mean a messenger. Actually, let me get it back up here. The root of this comes from Greek 71, which is some word meaning lead. And then we got Greek 34. It's like a herd. Strong's puts the emphasis on an angel. It occurs 186 times. Let's see, but it just occurs in the New Testament, so let me keep going. And had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. I'm starting to think this could maybe be Yeshua, but gotta be careful with this. This might not be at all, because he's not identified as the King of Judah, or the Lion of Judah, or the Lamb of God, or the Messiah, or anything. So don't jump in here like that. Be cautious. Cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth, and when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices, and when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, seal up these things, which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. So when we have Apostle John, who's wrote Revelation, he knows what the 7 thunders are, so we'll have that knowledge, and that's really going to open up Revelation for us, I think. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth, and the things that are therein are, and the sea, and the things which are therein, that there should be time no longer. That doesn't mean time's over. It means time's up. The time's up, now it comes. That's what that means, okay? No more time to wait. Here it is, it's now. But in the days of the voice of the 7 angels, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants, the prophets. So this is the end of the tribulation, the end of Gog and Magog. This is the end of the second 70, and Yeshua is going to return. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea. upon the earth. Now, I don't know. This could be Gabriel or who knows. You got to be careful with this. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. And he said unto me, Thou must prophesy again before many peoples and heathen nations and tongues and kings. And that has never been fulfilled for Apostle John, and that's one of the reasons he's one of the witnesses. Okay, so let me jump in the chat real quick. All right, let me see. Somebody saying there's red alerts. Let me take a look and see if we got any red alerts here and what's happening. There were red alerts. All right. Let me get to today. That was the border. There was something at the border with Lebanon and Israel. Don't know what it was yet. Another one. There was at the border. Now let me find out what actually happened. Okay, here's what happened. Flocks of birds triggered our radar, and we had red alerts by Lebanon, but they were false alerts. It happens, but something interesting happened. Assad forces withdrew from western Deir el-Zor countryside, handing it over to the Kurds after a joint defense agreement to block rebel advances. This is very interesting. So Assad's getting the Kurds to help them because the Kurds don't trust the rebel groups, because the rebel groups are in part backed by Turkey, and Turkey wants to eliminate the Kurds. This is very interesting. Well, Israel warned Iran not to bring troops into Syria. Now, Iran doesn't listen to warnings. They're criminally insane. The only thing they understand is when you start blowing their country up, then they start waking up. But they start believing their own lies, I guess. They're crazy. I'm going to go through the social media and tell you what's going on in the war since we started. Uh, I'm not so sure a lot went on, but let's take a look. Maybe something did. The Battle of Homs is about to start. It could actually start today or tomorrow. They usually start the fights during the day, I think, but they can vary. The rebels have been drone attacking Damascus, and Assad put snipers up on rooftops to, knock out the drones. Early this morning, the rebels were 5 kilometers from Homs, so they're probably already at Homs or right close to it. Um, More Assad troops ran away from their positions. It looks like it could have been they got disarmed by people, but it looks also like they just ran away. It's hard to tell right now. We'll get it later though. This uprising has displaced over 250,000 people in Syria so far. Let's see. They're also taking Assad soldiers captive. So if they're taking live captives, they're pretty strengthened. Apparently, this idiot Assad had big statues made of himself in Syria, and people are knocking him over. The rebels are knocking him over. And that's fine. let me see what else I can pick up real quick. If anything, I don't think much happened. It looks like they may be attacking, the rebels may be attacking Homs today. So I'll try to cover that. Um, there's thousands of people that left Homs already. So I think they've started, or they're about to start attacking. Well, I think that's about all I got on the news. I don't see any new stuff here yet today. So the next big event will be them attacking Homs, which is very important because that's the connection between Syria and Lebanon, where Hezbollah was transferring weapons from Iranian weapons manufactured in Syria or brought into Syria into Lebanon. So they're going to occupy that, and that should be good for us because that means we don't have to keep bombing it and all that. It'll be a good, maybe not in the long run so good, but in the short run it'll be good. All right. So that's about it. And I think after Homs, they'll get ready to hit Damascus. They may want to hit another city or two, but I think they're going to go for Damascus. I could be wrong, but I think they're going. They may. Okay, if they're smart, they'll take a look at that Russian port in Latakia and say, well, wait a minute. If we start laying siege to Damascus, what the heck do we do? Putin brings warships back with soldiers and, moves on us with tanks and blah, 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 and airplane, blah, blah. So they should destroy that and the air base next to it, which is maybe 2-3 kilometers away. They should do that. And I don't know, maybe they would want to occupy it. Same difference. If they occupy it, that'll work. And then go into Damascus, unless by occupying Hama and occupying Aleppo, which they have to do, and then occupying Homs, they don't have enough manpower to go hit Damascus, which is going to be the fight of fights in Syria. Unless Assad's people run away, it's going to be a real knockdown fight, and I can't give you a written guarantee, but could possibly result in Damascus being a ruinous heap. Now, we don't know. Assad's men could just run away, take their uniforms off, and now they're civilian. They look and act and talk and walk just like civilians in Israel. Throw their military ID cards away, get rid of their rifle, and now they're civilians. They could defect and join the rebels. They could surrender to the rebels. Iran may try to bring an army in before this happens, but I'm not seeing signs of it. But Iran will try something. Iraq is probably getting ready to do it. They said they're going to bring in a good amount of soldiers, thousands. So let's look at it like we went to a war college, but we didn't. So what does Iran and Iraq do? They wait for the rebels to take Damascus or attempt it, right? And they tell Assad, fortify Damascus so it becomes a real vicious fight. Nothing quick. So he puts his good soldiers down there, which they probably already are, and tanks and everything else. And then, now they're occupying Aleppo, and they're going to be afraid that Assad's forces or somebody else's forces like Iraq or Iran may try to take Aleppo back or take back Hama or take back Homs, which it looks like it's going to fall slam dunk. And then maybe that's spread out pretty thin with the battle in Damascus after a day or two, because when they hit rough resistance, they're going to call for more help. That's when Iranian troops and Iraqi troops come in through the border from Iraq to Syria and then march on Damascus, or maybe try to take Aleppo and Hama back and while the fighting goes on. And the problem with that is Turkey, Israel, and America are not going to like that. And America has already struck their convoys coming in and will do so again, as far as I can tell, and so will Israel. So it doesn't look like Iran's got a good shot right now. So I don't know what they're going to do. The only thing Russia's going to do is continue bombing positions as long as they're able to with a small fleet of jets and bombers, and that's it. I don't think he's bringing troops in or anything like that. I wouldn't expect it. Hezbollah is running for their lives at discombobulated, disjointed, confused, disaffected. They're not going to be able to do much. And the IRGC inside Syria, if they were able to do anything, they would have done it already. Maybe the rebels want to go attack more bases and outposts and stuff like that Syria has to collect more sophisticated weapons. Get more tanks, more artillery, more missiles, more anti-tank weapons, more machine guns, more this, more that, more jeeps, more trucks, more ammo. I don't know. I really don't know. But we'll have to watch. So far, Iran and Iraqi troops have not come in. They're not going to do a naval landing. They're not going to do paratrooper airlift. So it's going to be land crossing. That's it. Is Iran going to try to get the Houthis in Yemen to send large forces to get involved up there? How are they going to get there? They have to cross through other countries. Not easy. I don't think they're coming anyway. That's where we're at. So their plan after that is, once Damascus falls, they're going to march on against Iraq, because that's a real threat to them. Because Iran could keep feeding troops into Syria from Iraq. So they're going to go right away into Iraq. And from there, they'll probably regroup and go hit Iran. When they have Iraq, they got ground access into Iran. Now, invading Iran by ground is a monstrously rough ride. But looks like they might try it. So that's what I have for today. So please pray for me and my wife, and pray for our peace, safety, protection, healing. Please keep praying for my eyes. I need help in that area. And my jaw occasionally keeps going out of joint. Please keep the prayers coming for that. Prayers coming for Chief the dog. They're working good. Pray for my wife, for her healing to keep progressing. Pray for better videos, for the peace of Jerusalem. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua. And I'm out. I hope you got something out of this.